All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Welcome back to the NBA season. Recording this on a Monday morning, and season starts tomorrow. So let's get into it. This is my official league pass ranking. So I just want to let you know what my favorite teams to watch are and what teams I'm excited to watch, this upcoming season. So yeah, let's get into it. There's no F tier because I love all the teams. Last year, I was complimenting the Pistons in the first couple games when they were playing the Bulls. I think they had a really good team, a really good run in that game. I made like a 3 or 4 tweet thread about the Pistons, playing well, Cade Cunningham playing well, Ivy playing well, uh, and Duran playing well, and then they went on like a 30-game losing streak after that, I think. So yeah, I'm still excited to watch all these teams, even the Wizards, yes, even you guys. Um, but let's get started. Like I said, no F tier, only S, A, B, C, D. I might even take out D. I'm not gonna lie. There's every team is at least C tier, at least until like February, post trade deadline, March, when the teams really like just they're picking up guys from the G League, signing guys on 10 days. There might be some quote unquote fake injuries, but you know that's when the teams start throwing it in, throwing it out, basically throwing it in the trash, throwing their season's done. But yeah, let's get started. Philadelphia 76ers, really excited to watch this team, especially might be a caveat maybe if when healthy. Obviously, when they're not healthy, even then when they're not healthy, Tyrese Maxey he's usually pretty healthy, even though he just like jammed his finger or something. Like I forget what it was in his hand. Jalen Suggs reaching in his hands, uh, and something happened to his hand, but he's majority healthy. Healthy majority of the games. Even though Embiid and Paul George might miss some games here and there, Embiid already missing some back to backs. Just because they're not healthy, I'll probably still put them in A tier. If they were healthy, obviously, I think they would be S tier. Uh, Might be a spoiler, but I think I'm going to pick them to win the championship this year. I think just when it all clicks together, they're really good. Like even Caleb Martin is pretty good. Kelly Oubre had a really good season last year. Still got Kyle Lowry coming off the bench, and they added Andre Drummond as well. So they have some decent options off the bench, to play, to spare their starters some time. And like I said, I believe in Maxi. I believe in the big three. Uh, it could be a Celtics situation, like the first season they all come together, they win the championship. It's not, it's kind of rare. It happened with the Lakers as well in 2020, first season with AD, they won the championship. Obviously, there's a lot of other cases where it doesn't happen as well. So yeah, we'll see. But for now, A tier. All right, next pick is Wizards. Wizards, not gonna lie, it might be have to be C tier just because they haven't really fully invested in the youth movement yet. I feel like they're still trying to play Valanciunas and Sar together. Hopefully by the trade deadline, or maybe even sooner than that, Valanciunas gets traded, or he just accepts the bench role. Because I really want to see what Sar develops into. I was watching, some of his tape. That game against I think it was the G League Ignite. He went insane. He had like 25 points, like double digit rebounds, blocks, steals. He was everywhere. She was shooting threes. He was shooting mid range. He looked like, a young, like, I don't know, might be extreme, but Kevin Garnett. He looked like a young Kevin Garnett out there, like a modern version of that. He has a better offensive game than Mobley, I think. And Mobley, and him are probably similar defensive prospects. So I'm excited to see him, but obviously their guard situation is not the best. Bub Carrington, Malcolm Brogdon. Malcolm Brogdon's already kind of out. They're kind of playing pool at point guard. We'll see if he can at least get back to his Golden State level, or at least, better than he was last year, because last year was pretty bad for him. Just in terms his shooting percentages were bad. Everything was bad. It wasn't just like a down year for him. Um, so yeah, hopefully he can get some of that, at least, watchability back. Because Jordan Poole and that player front, I remember obviously when the baddies were courtside, he was entertaining to watch. But um, yeah, last season was not great for him. Kuzma's can be up and down as well. I was watching that one of his preseason games. He was like airballing some threes, and then he would make some threes, go make some layups, hit some mid range shots as well. So like he's kind of an inconsistent player and kind of gets under the radar. You kind of just see his counting stats, but if he gets traded, I feel like I'm not sure how well he does on an actual legitimately good team, because he's not always the most consistent guy. Uh, that's on the floor out there. And then Keyshawn George, I feel like was a solid pickup. He looks pretty competent in preseason. Obviously, it's preseason, but he just looks like he knows how to play his role. Same with Koulibaly. He knows how to play his role, and we'll see how they do if there are any, if there's any improvement. But more than likely they will be a bottom 3 or 4 team. So yeah, and that's why I have them in C tier. Atlanta Hawks. I'm actually excited to watch this team. I like Trey Young. A couple years ago, obviously they had that huge playoff run, and now they're going kind of back to that type of system and setup with Trey Young, shooters, defenders, Clint Capella, Okongwu as the big man who can roll, catch lobs, similar to Larry Nance. Yeah, similar to Larry Nance, Jalen Johnson catching lobs, running the short roll when he gets trapped. Uh, yeah, I think it's going to be really solid. So yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to be really solid. I think they're going to be better than most people expect. Obviously, they'll probably still be a play-in team. I think they'll be a higher end play-in team, maybe 6 or 7 seed. But I like what they're doing. They kind of focus. They kind of know what they are now. It's a Trey Young offense. You're developing Jalen Johnson into a potential number 2 type of guy. In that Draymond Green type of role, and I really like him. And he has more offensive game than Draymond Green, and he's probably just as good of a toolsy physical defender in the future. He has the skills for that. So I like Jalen Johnson. I like Zachary Ricochet. He came in and immediately started shooting threes, playing defense. And I don't know if people know this. He actually had like feel for the game when he came in. Like he was doing Euro steps, was bumping guys, slowing down, slowing the pace down. He was picking his spots when he wanted to shoot, when he knew that, you know, he's gonna pass it up, maybe run a pick and roll, you know, something like that. So I like what the Hawks are doing. I kind of almost want to put them in A tier, but for now I'll put them in B tier just because I want to see it. There's always some hype around the Hawks. Maybe not this year as much because they traded DeJounte Murray, but I think that's an addition by subtraction because, like I said, they know the system revolves around Trey Young now. So that's why I have them in B tier. Maybe uh, screw it. I'm gonna put them in A tier. I think they'll be fun to watch. Cleveland Cavaliers. The team probably everybody expected to make a trade. Then when the New Orleans Pelicans did make a trade for DeJounte Murray. Cavs did not make a trade. Obviously, it's still possible they could move one of their big four, either Mobley, Garland, one of those guys, maybe even Jared Allen, if they believe that Evan Mobley shows enough at center, and if they can get a capable wing, maybe like a Jared Allen from Brandon Ingram trade kind of makes sense for both sides. Cavs have always been searching for a small forward, even now with Max Strus out. Let's see how they do because they don't really have a direct replacement. Karis LeVert is kind of inconsistent. So yeah, maybe that they make that trade sooner than later, just because they need that wing scorer next to the guards. And the Pelicans might realize that they need a center pretty quickly as well because they're playing Tice, maybe a combination of Tice, Herb Jones, Zion center, something like that. But if it goes bad, especially early for both of these teams, I could see it. I could see them making that trade pretty quickly, actually. So for that reason, I'm going to put them in B tier. We kind of know what they are. Obviously, when Mitchell gets hot, they're like a S tier. He was going for 70. What was that last season? 2 seasons ago, I can't even remember now. But he has the ability to get hot. I want to see Garland bounce back as well. His percentages dipped last year. He just wasn't as effective. He kept having like facial injuries. Pause. Um, but yeah, it's kind of, and I still need to see some offensive development from Evan Mobley as well. I just don't want to see like a Donovan Mitchell show. You know, it's fun as obviously when he gets hot, like he did in the playoffs a couple times as well. I saw it as living in Orlando as a Magic fan. I saw that he got hot, a couple times throughout that series. But yeah, they need more than that. They need Mobley to step up offensively. Like I said, Strus is out, so we could see them make an early trade as well. Detroit basketball. Are they finally back? They might be, at least average now. They might not be, one of the worst teams in the history of the NBA, but now they're actually competent. They got, you know, Malik Beasley. They got Tobias Harris. They have a solid young core of Cade, Ivy, and Duran. They didn't do the best with their draft pick. I don't know, yet to be seen on Ron Holland and how his jump shot develops. Because just because, I don't know, like modern NBA, Asar Thompson and Ron Holland at the same time on the court. I don't know how well that works in 2024 and 2025. Um, but yeah, hopefully they're defensively solid. Obviously, it looks like Bickerstaff. Bickerstaff is clearly an upgrade on last year's Monty Williams coaching. Coaching schemes and coaching just rotations in general. Just because playing Killian Hayes, who just got cut by the Brooklyn Nets, one of the worst teams in the NBA. He was playing him over Jaden Ivey. So that's all you need to know about that coaching situation. Uh, I might put them in B tier just because I like Cade this year. I think he has all star potential this season, and I like Jaden Ivey what he's shown in the preseason. I feel like they've almost take turns, going off, heating up in the preseason. Cade and Ivy, and then Duran is fun to watch as well. Watch catching lobs, getting some blocks, but he still needs to improve his actual defensive footwork in that. So they have competent shooters around, like I said, Fontecchio, Tobias Harris, Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr. when he actually makes shots. Uh, so yeah, right now I have him in B tier. It might seem crazy, but it is what it is. I like basketball. What can I say? Don't kill me. I like basketball. Indiana Pacers, probably one of the S tier teams, if not one of the most exciting teams to watch. Halliburton was one of my favorite players in the NBA last season, especially in that early stretch, first 30 to 40 games, where he was playing almost like an MVP type of level. He was, especially before that injury, you could just tell he had a dynamic ability with him, like a Steve Nash, something like that. He was affecting everything on offense. He was shooting threes, playing, no look passes, behind the back passes, everything you want in transition, fast break. And obviously their defense is not that great. So they're going to be in more competitive games, even though I feel like they should be able to lock it down a little bit better this year with Nemhard and Neesmith, and hopefully Matherin comes back as well, because people forgot that he missed the whole playoffs. So they need that boost off the bench as well. And Nemhard showed that he's capable, to run the second unit, if not, start in that shooting guard spot. So I like I'm hoping to see more from him as well this season, and he could be a potential trade candidate if somebody needs a point guard. I don't know, maybe somebody like who needs a point guard right now? Miami, maybe somebody like that. He's a smart player. I could easily see him fitting into their system. Even somebody like Brooklyn, investing in a young guy like NM Hard. So maybe they add like a Cam Johnson in that trade, something like that. But Nemhard's a solid player, and I think he's a really smart player, and I think he helps this team a lot. So, and we'll see if he kind of took that spot from Matherin. Matherin was supposed to be that starting shooting guard, and he took that spot from him. So I still like their team. Siakam, Miles Turner, Obi Toppin. He's doing like under the legs dunks on like a fast break. So they're going to be exciting to watch for sure. Milwaukee Bucks. I feel like the Giannis factor and Dame time at the end of the games automatically makes him an A. It's just like the rest of the pieces around him. A little bit worse on defense. They did add Gary Trent, so he's a little bit better defender. Probably is a way better defender than Malik Beasley. So maybe that helps their, perimeter defense out a little bit. And yeah, like I said, Giannis factor kind of have to put them in A tier just for now. There's not really much to be. Chris Middleton, I guess they could be S tier if Chris Middleton plays. I like watching him play. Obviously, he's is an amazing All NBA type of player when he's healthy. He even showed in the playoffs when he was almost by himself against the Pacers. He was putting up big numbers. So I like the Bucks, but they might be. I don't know. I feel like they don't have any young guys that really excite you. They kind of took some wild risks in the draft this year. Andre Jackson Jr. Maybe he shows something. But yeah, Giannis is kind of own in terms of athletic ability, in terms of energy and trying to run a fast break. So just for Giannis and obviously Dame time, he still had some moments last year, even though it was a down year for him. He still had some great moments in some clutch game situations last year. So I still like him. Toronto, I think, is B tier as well, probably above Detroit as well. Uh, RJ Barrett, if looks like he's more comfortable in this role. Scotty Barnes still needs to probably improve his outside shooting, but he's shown that he's gotten better every year. He's improving his overall game. He's a steals and blocks monster, one man fast break, post ups, everything that you want kind of in your franchise player to help elevate your team. And then obviously the biggest X factor probably this season is Emmanuel quickly, just because we need him to show that he's a capable starting point guard and borderline like I don't want to say all-star, but maybe just a tier below that because you are offering him, you did pay him 30 million a year. So you clearly see in him some potential to be a maybe not an all-star type of player, but maybe like a Jamal Murray, Mike Conley level of player, something like that. And even those guys are probably, obviously still better than him right now, but maybe by the end of this season, we see them in the same tier. And of course, he has the scoring punch as well. He can get hot at any time as well. His pull up threes as well. And then Grady Dick, he had a great game, I think, in the preseason last week as well. So hopefully, he's showing some improvement and he can, bolster that offense as well because they definitely need it. What are we saying on time? 15 minutes, pretty long. Maybe I might need to speed it up a little bit because we're normally talking about, what, 8 teams, 15 minutes. Gonna have to keep it moving. But Dallas Mavericks probably S tier. Luca, Kyrie, added Clay Thompson, Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford basically get catching lobs, running it with Luca and Kyrie. Now we have the Clay Thompson, heat check factor as well. Even Najee Marshall, I think, is a really good pickup for them. So yeah, fun team to watch. Not really much to say. Obviously, they're a great team, and I think I picked them to win the Western Conference this season. So yeah, should be a fun team again as well. Next up, we got the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets probably still in the A tier just because of Jokic. Um, and maybe should they be higher? Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, but Jamal Murray doesn't look the same as he was a couple years ago. They lost KCP, so they kind of losing that shooting. They're kind of depending on some young guys now. Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, Julian Strother. Obviously, they have potential to be higher if one of those young guys actually hits and they're actually capable shooters. But for now, I think I'm going to leave them right there. Like last couple of years before they were S tier, the ball movement, Jokic, obviously, bullying guys, Sombor shuffle, step backs. Yeah, not much to be said about Jokic. He's, 3-time MVP, I think, 3 or 4 time. Memphis Grizzlies probably should be S tier. I'm not gonna lie. John Morant is back, one of the most entertaining players in the league. He's gonna be fun to watch this year. Desmond Bain, I thought he took a load on pause from on last season. He had more usage. He's more comfortable with the ball in his hands, making plays for others. You know, taking over second units when he needs to when Jaw's sitting. Or when Jaw's resting, whatever. And then you have Jaren Jackson, Zach Edey. I'm really interested to see how that pans out. Maybe it's kind of a slog, but I think Taylor Jenkins is smart enough to make it work. And I think it should be fun to watch. They might be dominating teams inside, might be like a little bit old school, as opposed to some maybe, as opposed to some other teams that just want to shoot threes. They're kind of a bit of a more old school type of team. Marcus Smart, is going to bring it on defense. So yeah, S tier. At least in terms of watchability. I'm not sure how many wins that will translate into, although I feel like a lot of people are picking them as their dark horse, like, oh, they might make the Western Conference Finals or they might even make the NBA Finals, just because they have a lot of talent on their team. But and then Gigi Jackson, of course, as well. It's kind of a streaky 3-point shooter to add to their watchability. But I'm not really sold on making them deep playoff run just because I'm not really sure how the Zach Edey thing will go exactly. But obviously, if it's a success, then that means their team is probably going to be pretty good. Minnesota, I think S tier as well. Yeah, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels clamping people on defense. Rudy Gobert, defensively actually might be fun to watch, but offensively, obviously not the best. But Julius Randle, I feel like adds a kind of an X factor to their team because I saw like even in the preseason, he was catching, let's say, on the 3-point line, and they're kind of close out on him because obviously they're not like sticking to him exactly man on man when he's spotting up at the 3-point line. But he can pump fake, he can drive to the rim. He had a nice dunk against the Bulls. He can make plays off the dribble. I think that's what they saw in him as opposed to Towns. Towns kind of, if he got caught and they closed out on him, pretty well, shuffled their feet, he wasn't able really to blow by people that often, especially when Rudy Gobert was already in the lane. Like Julius Randle can, pump fake, take a step inside, get his mid range off. You can go to him, in some lineups where Nasri is at center, where he's spacing the floor for Julius Randle, maybe when Gobert is taking a rest. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what Minnesota looks like this season, and they could be better. I think they could be better than last season. And DiVincenzo as well. He's coming in like a, I don't know, like a man on fire. Shooting threes in the preseason. He's looked pretty good so far. San Antonio Spurs. I feel like Wemby automatically puts them in B tier, but I'm not sure how many wins that translates to and how much success that translates into. They need Devin Vassell, they need Castle, they need those guys to step up. Um, what did I say? Yeah, Shermy Sohan, even him, he needs to step up offensively as well, obviously. So Wemby obviously is already watchable, probably one of the most watchable players in the league when he's on the court, but they need other guys to step up as well. They need that shooting of Devin Vassell. I thought he was going to make like a most improved player, almost, borderline all-star type of leap last season, but I think he wasn't really that healthy last season, and he just never got his groove going. He never really got his comfortability in the offense, especially with Sohan at point guard. So now with Chris Paul at point guard, hopefully that, runs a little bit smoother. That runs a little bit smoother, and he gets going to sell. So that's why I have him in B tier. Might be above the Cavs. We'll see. Utah Jazz. I feel like they change their lineup like every 5 games. Like last year, it was like, oh, Sexton starting, uh, with Keontae George or with Clarkson, and then Keontae George was starting, and then Fontecchio was starting before he was there. Then he got traded, and then who was it? Olynyk was starting. Walker Kessler was starting. Then he was on the bench. John Collins was starting. Then he was on the bench. Taylor Hendricks is apparently now starting. So I think they might be C tier. I'm not gonna lie, might be C tier. Might be. Other than the other, odd Laurie Markkinen, you know, exciting plays. Keontae George is an exciting player. They have a lot of young, exciting guys, and Will Hardy's a good coach. But I feel like maybe this year they kind of go for the play-in because I feel like the last couple of years they don't really want to go for the play-in, and they're not as good enough to get into the play-in. So they're just by the midway season, they're like, we're not, we're not bad enough to be in the top bottom 5, but we're not good enough to be in the play-in. So they're kind of just stuck in that weird area. I don't know. They might need to trade some guys. We'll see, or they might just stop playing some guys. Like, yeah, just stop playing the guys that you don't believe in. Like Agbaji, they ended up just trading him because it was kind of a lost cause. You can try to get more playing time somewhere else. Clippers might also be C tier. I'm not gonna lie. No, Kawhi is already out indefinitely. It's a like 34-year-old, 35-year-old James Harden time. He thinks he's running it back with the Houston Rockets. Uh, he's trying to be more like Luka Doncic, apparently. Uh, I've never been the fan of his game. So now when he's older and a little bit less effective as well, Zubac will certainly help him, but Norman Powell is still pretty solid. Terrence Mann is okay. They don't really have any young guys that you're really excited about. So unless they find like a gem in their development system, their G League system, they're gonna kind of be C tier for me because I kind of know what I'm getting with the James Harden offense, and with no Kawhi, maybe they could be A tier. But for now, I think I'm leaving them in C tier. Phoenix Suns, I think they're A tier. I think Budenholzer has really impressed me. Just how much impact he's had in the preseason is already, a lot of a lot of pump and go, pump fakes, driving to the rim, kicking out for threes, shooting more threes. I saw they're one of the best teams when their 3-point attempt rate, when they actually attempt like a normal good amount of threes, like in 2024, like NBA season, like a- apparently when they actually shoot a league average amount of threes, their record is actually really good. So hopefully Coach Bud can help them shoot more threes. Tyus Jones can help, let Devin Booker actually come off screens, attack in more advantageous positions other than just like trying to run a pick and roll and eventually getting trapped, and then he kicks it to KD, who eventually gets doubled, and then it's kind of like almost like a Yusuf Nurkic show. Almost sometimes I felt like last season you're putting the ball in his hands as opposed to the actual best players on the team. No offense to Nurkic, he has the same, almost the same first name as me. But yeah, I think the A tier, Coach Bud, he might win Coach of the Year if he improves them actually to like a top 2 or 3 seed. He might be one of the coaches of the year. Uh, Portland Trailblazers, I'm actually kind of excited to watch them this season. Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, Shaden Sharp, uh, Donovan Clingan. He had got like 20 rebounds in his first preseason game. He might be a monster, especially on the defensive side of the ball. If he can keep up, on the perimeter, maybe they just play better, more drop defense, played more to his skills. But I feel like I'm still excited to watch them, especially in the earlier parts of the season, just because I want to see if Scoot can get that magic back from a couple of years ago with G League Ignite. When he had that game against Wemby, where it was like, oh my God, is Scoot actually like he's not obviously better than Wemby, but he's actually could be a franchise point guard like John Morant, something like that. But he hasn't really shown that in the NBA season. I feel like the goggles and the eyesight messed him up as well. So we'll see. Hopefully, he can have a really good season. And Shaden Sharp might be one of those guys that takes a leap and becomes a borderline all star. I feel like I've said that like 5 times now, just because there's so much talent in the league right now. It's like one of those young guys we're waiting to make that leap. Like Jalen Williams, we had it last season. He was a really good player last season. Who else was last season? Like Jalen Johnson. We saw he was really good in his role last season. Even quickly, he was really good in his role last season with the Knicks. With the Raptors, he kind of fell off, but he was still showing that he's a potential all star type of player. Halliburton, I think, had a good leap last season. Even Derek Lively, of course, he was still his rookie year, so he impressed me as well. So I think Trailblazers, they're looking for one of those guys to be that type of all star type of player. Simons might not look like it. Maybe he might be eventually coming off the bench, or Shaden Sharp comes off the bench and he proves that I'm the main guy here. I have the tools to be a better player, better long term type of player. Sacramento Kings S tier, I think. I think they're S tier. Fox, Monk, DeRozan. Who else? Keegan Murray, Demonis Sabonis. Probably the most exciting team in the league this season, I think. And they have clutch players, they have clutch guys, they have shooters, they spread the floor. Fox is incredible to watch on the fast break. Sabonis with his handoffs, with his just dribble handoffs, his passing. It's just fun to watch. And I think they might be a dark horse Western Conference Finals, type of team. I feel like Memphis is getting a lot of the praise, but I think Sacramento might actually be one of the best teams in the Western Conference this year, just because their starting lineup is so balanced and loaded at the same time. Keegan Murray is still getting better, and he was almost one of the best 3-point shooters last season. So I'm excited to see what he brings on both ends of the court, because he has tools defensively as well, and that's obviously where the main questions on this team kind of come is defense. But they honestly, like De'Aaron Fox, he has the skills to be a good defensive player. Same with Keon Ellis. Even DeMar DeRozan can hold up. He has the strength and length to keep up with guys in his position. So S tier. New York Knicks, I think S tier as well. Obviously, they traded for Cat, more exciting team now, shooting more threes. I think Mikal Bridges as well. If he can, I don't know, something happened to his shot. If I don't know, if him and Josh Hart are suddenly like very below average 3-point shooters, especially Mikal Bridges. Like, I don't know what happened to him in the summer. I don't know what he did to his shot. I don't know what advice he got from a shooting coach, but it's clearly not working in the preseason. Hopefully, he gets it back, because if he's healthy, obviously they're contenders for the East, for the NBA Finals. But more importantly to me, they're fun to watch. And of course, they got one of the best home crowds. Mike Breen going bang on League Pass. You can't beat it. Walt Frazier, or was it Clyde Frazier? um, so yeah, good announcer team, good crowd, good, you know, good court, good uniform, everything. Pretty solid about the Knicks. It's more fun when in the NBA when they're actually good, just because they have so much energy and so much, bing bong videos. Was it side talk? But yeah, Moving on to New Orleans Pelicans, kind of almost like the opposite. No energy in the crowd, kind of a weak color scheme. Announcers are good. I like was it Antonio Daniels, probably one of the best, color commentators in the NBA, just because he has a lot of insight and a lot of, he actually breaks down X's and O's on the court. He's not just talking. So as basketball wise, I think Zion needs to have a bounce back year. Obviously, that Brandon Ingram situation is still unresolved. They got Dejounte Murray. We'll see how it works between him and Brandon Ingram because they both kind of shoot a lot more mid range shots than an NBA team in 2024 probably needs to. I'm just trying to put them in A tier. I feel like Zion when he's going is probably like almost S tier, but the rest of the team I feel like is kind of B tier. Trey Murphy when he gets hot, obviously fun to watch. Getting dunks. Herb Jones defensive activity. He might be playing some off ball center this year or like weak side help. It's always fun to watch. I'll put them at end of B tier just because they might not even be that great, like top 4 or 5 seed in the West this season. But I feel like they'll be fun to watch just because they're kind of embracing that small ball type of mentality. Charlotte Hornets, another team I'm kind of excited about, similar to Toronto. They actually have a lot of talent. Might be in the type of same type of tier, standings wise as well, and with young talent as well. Lamelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Mark Williams. Hopefully he can get healthy. Even the lottery pick, T. Salon, he was shooting it. He has a strap. He can shoot threes. He certainly does not lack confidence, especially when I was watching him in the preseason. Uh, they have athletic guys, even though Miles Bridges obviously he's still fun to watch on the court. I think, especially if Lamelo is healthy and he's pushing the pace, they're running in transition. Yeah, how are we doing on time? 30 minutes. All right, not bad. Kind of good speed up that time. Houston Rockets, low key sleeper, might be sleeper for S tier. I'm not gonna lie. I think Phoenix Suns are S tier. I think. Yeah, Phoenix Suns are S tier. Houston Rockets might be A tier. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say A tier. Just because they have so many young guys, you don't know who's gonna get hot at at what time. Even Fred Van Fleet, even the older guys get hot. Even Dylan Brooks, I think, had a few games where he got hot. But they just have a lot of exciting talent. Reed Shepard is already showing off like his skills and hesitation dribbles, his passing. Amen Thompson, his athletic ability, his running in transition. I feel like they have a general high IQ on the team now, which is kind of funny to say when you compare it to the last couple of years ago when they had like Kevin Porter Jr. running the show. No offense to him, he just didn't really have a great coach and great team around him. But now it feels like they're all more comfortable in their situation. Even Jalen Green looks more comfortable in the preseason because he knows that this is my job. I'm going to shoot threes. I'm going to run transition. I'm going to attack when it's available. I'm going to run pick and roll with Shengun because Shengun is pretty smart passer. So I feel like they have the ability to almost. I feel like they're almost being underrated. I feel like they could easily hit like 45 wins and be a solid playoff team, just because they have so much talent. And it's just about, can you Udoka get the right rotations in and get the right lineups and chemistry to mesh to make it actually look beautiful basketball on the court. And so far in preseason, it actually looks pretty solid. So that's why it's A tier. Miami Heat. Um, I feel like it got to be B tier. I'm not really that excited to watch them this year. Maybe Khalil Ware, if he pops, might be more exciting to watch. Um, is that disrespectful to the Heat, to Eric Spoelstra? Because they always run good sets, obviously. Maybe if Hero, improves as a passer, improves as a decision maker, they could be, in that A tier. But yeah, I feel like, yeah, New Orleans, I feel like it's B tier as well. I don't know. I feel like there's a separation between the way these guys run offense and these guys run offense. Uh, but maybe Spurs and Pelicans, maybe they'll surprise me. And like I said, I'm still excited to watch all the teams this year. Chicago Bulls. Oh, who was I saying? Oh yeah, Miami Heat. Yeah, Butler doesn't really give it all in the regular season either. Maybe he does now because I think he's in a contract year. And based on the comments of Pat Riley of like yeah, you can't be making jokes and all that when you're not even playing. So maybe he's actually inspired and motivated this year to actually give it his all in the regular season and actually, be a playoff team, not just a play-in team, like they were the last couple seasons. Even though they got to the finals from the play-in, they still need to improve their base quality. I think improve their base, wins total. Chicago Bulls, another one of those teams like Houston. They kind of have a lot of young talent now. Um, Chicago Bulls might be around here, around this same. I feel like I'm the only one that's excited to watch these actually like Eastern type of teams. Especially when hey, Lonzo was healthy, might be S tier, low key, Lonzo. But for now, they're probably in between this Charlotte, Toronto, Miami type of tier. Um, Yeah, because still like they still lack some obviously lack some quality up front, especially in the front court. Vucevic kind of gets blown by a little bit too much. He's not really the most efficient shooter anymore. Hopefully, he can get that back though if he, is playing with more, smarter point guards, actual point guards. With even if Giddy's not that great, he's gonna make good decisions on the ball, hopefully, and get pass people open. So yeah, maybe like I said, if Lonzo's healthy, and he actually plays like a solid, 15 to 20 minutes every game, might be in A tier. And Kobe White can get hot, obviously, as well. Zach Levine can get hot as well. I feel like they're still fun to watch. Maybe I'm sleeping on them. Maybe underrating their ranking. I feel like all these teams are almost kind of similar. Like they all have some young guys to watch. Obviously, Miami is a bit older of a team, but yeah, yeah, I think Miami's there just because they play a more defensive style. I think Brooklyn Nets. I'm not gonna lie, probably C tier. Uh, yeah, C tier. Ben Simmons maybe can claim some of that magic from was that almost 4 or 5 years ago now, 3 years at least now. Um, they do have some wings, 3 and D wings around him. If Ben Simmons can be that type of point guard, they do have a young and athletic team. Cam Thomas, Claxton, Cam Johnson can run a bit. Finney Smith can run a bit. He's still that 3 and D type of wing, but I feel like when you compare them in the roster, they're kind of like obviously on the lower end. OKC, they're once again one of these top 3 teams. I think top 3 or 4 teams. The way they play is really fun to watch. Driving kicks. Jalen Williams is making a jump. Chet Holmgren, hopefully he can make a jump this year. Obviously Caruso still a vital part of this. Getting him was an important part of this team as well. So you actually have a shooter in Giddy's spot now. So yeah, just another guy that can drive and kick and make smart plays, and they play defense as well. So they're bringing it on both ends of the court, and there's not really much to be said. We know that they're going to be a really good team. We know that they're going to be a really fun team. Their post game interviews are kind of cringy, but watching them play is still pretty fun. It might knock them down a bit just because SGA is a little bit, foul baiting ish. So maybe put them down a little bit. But Luca is too, and Jalen Brunson is too. So it's kind of just the name of the game at this point. So and hopefully they cut down on the jumping into people and like backing up into people and all that type of stuff. Even though it's kind of hard to officiate. So maybe I won't knock them too much for that. All right, Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry effect. I feel like they're still A tier. When Curry's healthy, they got Buddy Hield, Kuminga, Moses Moody, Draymond Green. Draymond Green, in terms of watchability or almost like I don't even know, like you don't know what's gonna happen. Like I don't even know what's it called, like the spontaneousness, I guess, spontaneity of what he's gonna do on the court. That's always intriguing to see. So yeah, Warriors are still A tier, especially when Curry's on the court. Obviously, when Curry's going on his run, he's like a S tier player. But the rest of the team, when he sits, might be a little bit rough to watch. Maybe Pozemski keeps improving, and they're still pretty solid. Celtics, I feel like there's kind of similar style to the Warriors, but without that one dynamic type of guy. They're kind of more of a team driving kick type of shooting threes. A lot of threes attempted, a lot of threes, you know, a lot of threes missed, but a lot of threes made as well. So high volume of threes. When it's going in, it's probably fun to watch. Well, when they have a cold night, but to be honest, they rarely have a cold night. And even when they do, their defense is still pretty solid. So for that reason, I'll probably still put them in A tier. And Jalen Brown will catch a few bodies. Jason Tatum will catch a few bodies. He'll duck on some people. When Porzingis comes back, maybe they're a little bit higher. Um, but right now, I think they're rolling with like old Al Horford and Xavier Tillman at bigs. So we'll see how that goes. Last two teams, Lakers and Magic. Lakers probably B tier unless Austin Reeves takes a little bit of a leap. Don't connect. He was fun to watch in that preseason game against the Suns, scoring 20 straight points. Hopefully, he has some nights in the regular season where he gets on a hot streak. But I feel like they kind of play, especially on offense. But hopefully, JJ Redick can improve that. They were kind of like I don't know, just like bogged down, and then it's like a pass to a shooter that probably is not going to make that three, like Rui Hachimura or I don't even know. Last year it was like D'Angelo Russell or Gabe Vincent missing their threes, but I think they'll be a little bit better this year, and they're probably still like underrated. Like at the same time, they're overrated, but they're not championship contenders, but they're definitely like I feel like they're a second round type of team. Like if they get the right matchups, obviously. Like you're telling me Lakers versus I don't know Memphis. We saw that a couple years ago, but obviously Memphis is a little bit better with the ED and some of their young guys improving. We're still gonna see probably a pretty competitive series. I feel like Lakers will play a pretty much competitive series with anybody in the West. I feel like this season, especially now that Denver lost KCP and Jamal Murray looks a little bit weaker. I feel like Lakers would play a competitive series against almost anybody in the West, but uh, and then obviously you still have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and if they're healthy, they're still fun to watch. So maybe they're still A tier and there's always drama. There's always some drama with the Lakers, so have to be A tier. S tier. Of in terms of being like not normal and nothing like what to expect, trade deadline rumors, all that type of stuff. But we'll leave them in A tier for now. I think Celtics. I feel like it should go over the Warriors as well, just because Warriors is a little bit too Steph Curry dependent now. Celtics still have that all around type of team style. And then Orlando Magic, I'm not gonna lie, even though I'm from Orlando, their games are not really that exciting to watch because it's a lot of bogged down offense. It's a lot of we're gonna hold you to like 95, between 95 and 105, and we're gonna try to just hold you down to that, and hopefully we can outscore you with Paolo. And they got some shooters actually as well. Hopefully Jet Howard can take a leap and actually get in the rotation. Anthony Black looks better in the preseason as well. So yeah, maybe they're just B tier, maybe behind the Spurs. Eh, them and the Cavs are kind of similar in that, yeah, maybe they're right below the Cavs. Cavs still have Donovan Mitchell, who's more exciting than I think Paolo, but maybe Paolo becomes more of the all around better scorer type of player that maybe that you just have to tune into when he's, dominating the game in that LeBron type of fashion with his passing, rebounding, one man fast breaks, all that type of stuff. So right now, keep them right there. And I think that's good. I could change this like so many times, but I think that's good for now, and I think I'll leave it there for the league pass rankings. Thank you guys for tuning in. It was a long video, 45 minutes. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and more NBA content, more X's and O's content, coming your way this season. And we're gonna do a wins losses draft as well. So tune into that already. Tune into that as well. It should be coming out on Monday night as well. So yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you all next time.